give it a solid beating and it doesn't cry blue murder. From space, only 3 man-made objects are visible. The pyramids of Giza in Egypt, the Great Wall of China, and the perfect circle, 4 kilometers in diameter, 12.6 kilometers in length, that is the Nardo high-speed track in southern Italy. This is the most iconic, the world's greatest automotive proving ground. And we are here to test what Lamborghini claims is the world's best super SUV. This is the newly updated Lamborghini Urus SE, and this also happens to be the most powerful combustion-engined SUV in the world. This is the first time ever that a media drive is happening at the Nardo proving ground, and the access that we've got, well, honestly speaking, I don't even know what access we've got, whether we'll even be able to shoot inside Nardo. This is super secret. There are over 20 workshops, so many manufacturers testing their new prototypes, all at Nardo. So join me as we go inside to test the Lamborghini Urus SE. And of course, before we go inside, don't forget to hit that bell icon to stay notified for all our video drops and stay subscribed to the Evo India channel. Nardo, I don't believe it. And now is also a good time to point out why it is so silent inside the cabin of an Urus. The Urus SE is a plug-in hybrid. Fully juiced up, you get 60 kilometers of pure EV range, and you can do up to 130 kilometers per hour in pure EV range. So if you want to be a gentleman, you can creep along in silence. If you don't want to disturb your neighbors early in the morning on a Sunday, you can do that in the Urus SE. Start up in pure EV mode, creep out, and then stick it into Strada, go under a tunnel, go down a gear, and make some noise. The 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 is a monster of an engine. On its own, it makes 612 bhp. On top of that, you have the e-motor that puts out 189 bhp. That e-motor is integrated into the 8-speed automatic gearbox of the Urus SE, and it feeds off e-juice from the 25.9 kilowatt-hour battery that is mounted above the rear axle. Total system power is 789 bhp and 950 Newton meters of torque. That's 132 bhp and 100 Newton meters more than the Urus Performante, the most powerful Urus up until now. It delivers a 0 to 100 sprint of 3.4 seconds. Top speed 310 kilometers per hour. It will also drift. This is actually very complicated, and to better help us understand it, let's talk to Ruben Moore, Chief Technology Officer at Lamborghini. Ruben, talk us through the whole system. How does it work, and why is it so easy and predictable to drift the Urus SE?
In the first time of the history of the Urus, we have changed completely the drivetrain architecture. We have a so-called hang-on based four-wheel drive system, means at the end the front axle is decoupled and coupled again with the clutch, a so-called Haldex clutch, means you have several discs that are connecting again the front axle. And depending on the pressure you put on the clutch discs, you have more connection or less connection. And this gives us the opportunity for the torque distribution front to the rear. So as more as we close the clutch, as more we transfer to the front, and vice versa. On top, we have in this car also an electronically controlled limited slip rear differential. The advantage of this system is that you can lock the left and the right rear wheel based on also a clutch package, and you can decide how much you want to lock the rear axle in the specific situation. All these components are only the enablers, because at the end of the day what is decisive is the algorithm behind that is deciding based on your driving style, based on the driving mode. If you drive more in sport, you have more a rear-wheel drive oriented behavior. In Corsa, you have more neutral behavior, means you can follow your trajectory you want to drive. And also based on your driving style. If the car is recognizing, oh, a sharp input on the steering, on the throttle, the car is understanding, oh, most likely the driver wants to drift. And then the car is anticipating all the magic behind, so the torque distribution, front, rear, limited slip, left, right, to manage as best as possible what the driver wants. So at the end of the day, the car is very intelligent in understanding what the driver wants to do and in the prediction what most likely the behavior of the car will be. And based on this smart algorithm, the car does everything in the background with only one purpose. The driver should recognize nothing out of this. The car should simply do what the driver wants to do.
So the beauty of the system is that it is a feed-forward system where it understands what you actually want to do rather than reacting to something that has happened. And that makes it more precise and also much quicker. So for instance, going around this 360, go and just step on it. So with the hybrid torque, the benefit is that with the hang-on system, more of the torque can be sent to the rear. That's why the rear now has an ELSD. So that's not really torque vectoring, but it monitors the amount of wheel spin that is there and it manages wheel spin. And what Ruben said is that there's so much of torque that is going to the rear that there is always enough torque for wheel spin. So the ELSD only has to manage the wheel spin. So the slalom, gas it, the rear comes out, drift it the other way. Again going around this 360 pad.
Face the fact that ain't no cap, I'm real. Ain't no cap, I'm real. The plastic balls from a copy my steel. Got my heart no.
And that's what Sport mode in the Urus SE with ESP off can deliver. Excellent handling, and when you want to go sideways, when you want to really be a hooligan, you can destroy these rear tires. Probably the fronts are also smoking.
Got my heart no.
And if you can do that on dry tarmac, imagine what the Urus SE can do on gravel. This is the off-road gravel rally track, the Strada Bianca as they call it. There are two of them. One is the O-shaped one, which is sort of like an oval, and the other, which we're going to hit right now, is the S-shaped track. So it has a whole bunch of corners which you can drift through, link the drifts. In fact, just imagine it like this. This is a rally sprint stage, and our rally car for today is the Lamborghini Urus SE, a 4.5 crore super SUV, which we've lifted slightly because it's in the Terra mode, which is the gravel mode, and we're going to hit this sideways. So what's the Urus like on a gravel rally track? Now imagine drifting what is going to be a 4.5 crore SUV on a gravel rally track like a rally car, but it's actually doing it. Also, I must talk about the suspension compliance. This is a bumpy track, and with the air suspension, this really does absorb these bumps really well. Bit of a flick, gas, 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 gas. It's unbelievable how accommodating this is to rally antics. So lap 2. You can really pedal this with quite some energy. So pendulum, flick it through. No Urus owner ever asked for a drifting ability from their super SUV. Straight on ability for sure. But if you find a gravel track you can actually send it fully sideways, half a turn of lock, the tail comes out progressively. You can use the brakes to get the nose into the apex, get the tail out. Fuck, unbelievable. Use the weight transfer to help you out through these corners. Oh.
Wow, very good.
And the other surprising part is that just how strong this Urus is to be able to take this kind of beating, and it doesn't cry blue murder. Obviously you have to manage the weight of this thing. 2.6 tons it's not light, let's be honest about that. But if you can manage the weight transfer, this lets you play. This lets you play. The Urus SE is a facelift, but it's not just the headlamps and bumpers that have been changed. The entire front, so the bonnet, the wings, the bumper, the lights, all of that has changed. Same for the rear. In fact, to tell us more about the styling updates to the Urus SE, let's jump into the studio and speak to the design director of Lamborghini. Mita, what is your biggest update or the update that you're most proud about on the SE?
Yeah, Sirish, first of all, the Urus is becoming an icon. So we have created a design that is seamlessly fitting. We have this front hood where there is no shut line anymore. We have the power domes. Everything is more three-dimensional. We have the new DRLs. They are taking inspiration from the bullhorn because we are now characterizing every model line with different DRLs. The Y shape on the Revuelto, the hexagon on the Temerario, and the bullhorns on the Urus. The huge success that we have with the Urus, global success, is for sure also driven by design. The Urus is very much perfectly proportioned. We have a very low roof line. We have an hexagonal DLO, the new 23-inch wheels, nice shoulders. And in this case here, again, there was the focus more on elegance, and we have integrated the aerodynamic. Of course, everything is emphasized, but we took the same center peak that we have in the front, the shark nose of the front. Basically, we have here also a shark nose on the rear.
Mm-hmm. And you told me once that a Lamborghini, if everybody looks at it, they should become 8-year-olds. They should become children once again when they look at a Lamborghini.
Absolutely, yes. I have seen a couple of your shots when you did the Giro in India. So, yeah, of course. Lamborghini is a car where when you park the car, for sure, there will always be the new generation, the kids that are running, taking a look at the Lamborghini. Then everything is, of course, emphasized by the colors. The Urus is the most colorful SUV that you can buy. By next year, you will be able to select more than 150 colors, which is really crazy. On our super sports cars, you can select more than 400 different colors. So we have a spaceship that is very colorful.
Yeah, thank you, Mita. But now we go head back on the road and test out the abilities of the Urus SE. Thank you.
Have fun, have fun.
Thank you, thank you.
And feel like a pilot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Drifting on tarmac, drifting on a gravel track, all that you can do on closed roads where you can actually push the Urus SE to its absolute dynamic limit. Those are things that you cannot do on a public road. But on a public road, that's where you're going to be using an Urus SE in case you were in the market to buy one of these super SUVs. So what does the Urus SE feel like on the road? The Urus SE, it gets the air suspension, unlike the Urus Performante, which was only on steel springs. And even in sport mode, you get very good suspension compliance. The seats, there are two options for the seats. These are the comfort seats and they really are very comfortable. The Urus SE could be your daily driver. In fact, the Urus, maybe not the Performante, but the Urus S and the Urus before that, all were great cars to drive daily. And then of course they were excellent when you wanted to thunder through tunnels and really drive like a hooligan. And I have to point out the immense number of driving modes on offer. So you get Strada, which is road, you get Sport, which is what you can use to get sideways, Corsa when you want to set lap times, then Sabia, Terra and Neve. Neve is ice. Terra is what we are going to use when we go drifting on gravel. We've been promised that we can do that. And then you have your hybrid and EV modes. So you get your pure EV mode. You pull this button and you get pure EV driving. Now you get the hybrid. Then you get a battery recharge system, and you get another mode where you get full performance. So you punch that mode and you get full 950 Newton meters of torque, 789 bhp, and you can go full send. Do launch control runs, 0 to 100 in 3.4 seconds. Give it the beans. Now the architecture, it remains the same, but you do get a larger infotainment screen. 12.3 inches up from 10.1 inches on the earlier Urus, and Lamborghini says that this is it. This is as big as it should be, because an Urus, or any other Lamborghini for that matter, is not a television on wheels. But you have all the connectivity, CarPlay, all of those features. And what you will really notice, the big improvement, is that it does not have carryover graphics from the Audi MMI system. It now has Lamborghini's own graphics, the HMI human machine interface system, whole bunch of hexagons, and this whole system has been borrowed from the Rivelto. The digital cluster 2 has new graphics, more sporty, more dramatic. You get more carbon fiber. You obviously have a whole bunch of personalization options. Really a very nice cabin, and these proper hard toggle switches, which Lamborghini says are fighter jet inspired. Now, first things first, this is a very strange sensation. Just last week, I was driving the Urus Performante. I drove it on the Lamborghini Giro India. 3 days, drove it to my heart's content, from Delhi up to Dehradun, Rishikesh, Mussoorie, Haridwar. Really drove the car. And I can immediately tell you that driving an Urus in pure EV mode, initially it feels strange, but here in this 60 kilometer per hour region, driving through these small villages, this is actually a more respectable way of driving. Instead of going all of that, you're creeping along in absolute silence, not being a nuisance, not making a menace of ourselves. You can use this EV mode, so it stays in pure EV mode for 60 kilometers up to a max speed of 130 kilometers per hour. And then as speed limits open up, you can either put your foot down and the engine kicks in, or stick it into Strada and you can listen to that V8 engine burble, gurgle, go down 1, 2, 3, 4 gears, and it feels raw, feels emotional. Lamborghini, they inject all this masala into their cars. It doesn't have to be so raw. The gear shifts don't have to be so prominent, but it's actually engineered in, because that's what Lamborghini's DNA is all about. Driving a Lamborghini should turn you into an 8-year-old. Go down the gears. You can really have a blast with this car. And the thing is that the usability is so good. These Italian inside roads, they aren't the smoothest. They sort of are like our Indian state highways, and it stays planted. It's not getting thrown around. You can actually put your foot down, deploy all of that power. It doesn't tramline all over the place. The Urus Performante, which I drove for 3 days, that was stiff. In fact, I spoke to quite a few owners of Performantes and told them that, are you okay with it being so stiff? Turns out most of them are earlier Urus owners who've then moved to the Performante, so they know what they're getting into. They wanted a more agile, a more responsive, a more sporty Urus. Here, with the upgrades on the suspension, the breadth of ability is just so much more. So in Strada mode, it is more comfortable than the earlier Urus. And in sport, it is more dynamic than the earlier Urus. In fact, with the same tires, the Urus SE has a similar lap time to the Urus Performante. And the Performante is hardcore. This is comfortable when you want it to be. Put it into EV mode. It is silent when you want it to be. The duality is brilliant. The Urus, it has a 7 kilowatt onboard charger. It takes a little over 2.5 hours for full juice to charge it up completely and give you that 60 kilometers of pure EV range. I have to point out that hybrids, well, they really are the best of all worlds. All the drama, all the joy of a nice combustion engine, and all the responsible citizen moves of an EV. All this hybrid tech is obviously going to come with a price increase. The base price of the Urus has gone up from 4.18 crores to 4.57 crore rupees. That's around a 9% increase, which, considering you get 132 bhp more, 100 Newton meters more, you are justified in spending that kind of money. But that just is the base price. In India, most customers put on a ton of options. At least 20% of the value of the car goes in terms of options. Tires, for instance. Now, these are the 23-inch wheels. Most Urus customers would definitely go one step up from the base 21-inch wheels, so at least 22-inch wheels. Also, 20% of all Urus customers opt for the Ad Personam program, which has tons of options in terms of colors, trims, all of that. So this is just a reference point. 4.57 crore rupees. And if you're in the market for an Urus SE and you haven't booked it as of maybe yesterday, because first deliveries are going to start in the first half of next year, you're looking at a minimum of 15 months waiting. Order books for 2025 are already done. They are shut. So minimum of 15 months waiting for the Urus SE. This is popular, not just in India, but world over. And this is the one that has been fueling Lamborghini sales. At least 60% of all Lamborghini sales are Urus Super SUVs. In India, last year, they did 103 cars. This year, it's obviously going to go up. Next year, once the Urus SE comes on stream, it's going to go up even more. In fact, if India can get more allocation, numbers in India can grow. And this is a car that's also well suited to our Indian conditions. Good ride comfort, but when you have the space, when you have a closed off track or a gravel rally track, this is an unbelievable super SUV to drive.